Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center. Man, I'm so pumped to do this video. So, man, there's been a thing going around. I'm pretty sure if you guys know, we're going to dive straight into it. You've seen Darius Slay comments on Jalen Brown not being a top elite quarterback in the NFL. When he named elite quarterbacks, he named Patrick Mahomes, he named Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. So, you had a lot of other people chime in on this. You had people all saying, "Oh man, I told y'all, woo-doo. So this is a video I've been wanting to make. So you hear the term game manager being used, and game manager is normally used to spite a quarterback. So when you look at quarterbacks that's not putting up phenomenal numbers, that's not throwing for 300 yards, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, that's not having the best season in terms of passing yards statistic and in terms of passing touchdowns statistic, right? They like to use the game manager term to demean those guys. So this is what I did. I took my time to go through and to look at what is a game manager. So the first thing I came up with, a game manager quarterback in American football refers to a quarterback who prioritizes avoiding making mistakes like interceptions and fumbles, focusing on making smart decisions to maintain possession and let other aspects of the team carry the offensive load. So with that being said, if we all know what was the biggest focus to getting Philadelphia where they were at this year, even to a Super Bowl and to win a Super Bowl, right? It was the run game. It was the rejuvenation of Saquon Barkley. You look at Saquon Barkley this year, had one of the best seasons that a running back has had in the National Football League, right? Had one of the best seasons. So when you're playing behind a good offensive line, big offensive line like the Philadelphia Eagles have, when you're handing the ball off to one of the best running backs in the NFL like Saquon Barkley is, why do I have to go out and pass for 400 yards? Why do I have to go out and pass for 300 yards? Why do I have to pass for 4 touchdowns? If I pass for 170 yards with a 10 of 18 pass completion with 1 touchdown or 2 touchdowns, but we win the game, what's wrong with that? Now, if I have to go out this game and make it happen, 300 yards, 400 yards, or whatever the case may be, in order for us to win that particular game, then it's time to do that. But that's what a game manager is. A game manager is a quarterback who prioritizes making smart decisions. So we know that as the Philadelphia Eagles, we have a phenomenal run game. And then we also have to contribute to, when you say, okay, when you look at Jalen Hurts, and even I went to go pull up Jalen Hurts stats, and I was like, oh man, I was looking at the passing statistics. But then you have to take into consideration as well, what is Jalen Hurts? A dual threat quarterback. So a lot of his effectiveness not only comes through passing, but through his ability to run the ball, which we seeing right here, right? So if I'm being effective there, now if he wasn't a runner, if he couldn't scramble, if he wasn't a dual threat and he was putting up those numbers passing wise, then I can give you more base for that argument and say, okay, yeah, you're completely right about that. He's not an elite quarterback. But if he's hurting you on both assets of the ball, and that's actually what makes what they do so dangerous, because if you focus on Saquon Barkley, he's going to hurt you. And if you focus on him, Saquon Barkley's going to hurt you. So it creates that level of balance. So it keeps the defense on their toes. It keeps the defense guessing. Look at the Super Bowl. We all knew, everybody said that if Kansas City does not stop the run, they're not going to win that game, right? Kansas City comes out and stopped the run. But guess what? They didn't win the game because now Jalen Hurts hurt you with the running. Jalen Hurts hurt you with getting the ball to Devontae Smith, getting the ball to A.J. Brown. So those are smart decisions. You see what I'm saying? So I don't understand where that whole narrative comes in, because if you understand football and you know football, that narrative right there shouldn't even be a narrative that you should run with. He's doing what's asked of him within that offense. And then I was looking at the show Facility, and Chase Daniels and, a couple other people on that show, I think Icho, they were all saying, okay, let's say if you put Joe Burrow on that team, or you put Patrick Mahomes on that team, I guarantee you that it would have been Super Bowls. But I'm saying to myself, for one, right? We have to understand that this has been a process. This did not happen overnight. I'm talking about the building of the Philadelphia Eagles. It was step-by-step process. When you look at when Jalen Hurts first came into the NFL as a rookie, and look at what he had team-wise, right? And look at where he at now. This guy has been to 2 Super Bowls, right? Lost one, won one. Outplayed Patrick Mahomes in both of those Super Bowls. And he's had inconsistency at the offensive coordinator side, and he's still been able to make things happen. So my thing is, we're going to penalize this guy because his franchise is making moves and being smart in the draft, right? When all these other teams aren't being smart in the draft, when all these other teams aren't being smart in signing free agents. So we're going to penalize him because of that. So if we're going to sit there and play that debate, then, okay, we can say, well, if you look at Mahomes early on in his career, and I'm a Mahomes fan, this is not to slight Mahomes. Look at the offense that Mahomes had. What was everybody saying about Mahomes at the time? Oh, it's because he got Tyreek Hill. Oh, it's because he got Travis Kelce. You know what I mean? So we can sit there and play that back to back as much as we want to. If you look at Joe Burrow, people will say, oh, he got Jamar Chase. Oh, he got T. Higgins. And at the time, he had Mixon, so we can sit there and play that back and forth. And it's not a guarantee that they're going to go, that situation is going to go the way we think when we're swapping these quarterbacks on this team and swapping the quarterbacks on this team. I think one of the things, too, that plays a very big part in the success of a quarterback, when you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts that was drafted to the Philadelphia Eagles, he was, I think, a second-round pick, right? So he went to a team that was pretty much more stable, opposed to guys like Trevor Lawrence and, these other quarterbacks that were number one top picks, and they ended up on these sorry teams. His situation was just blessed. The same thing with Mahomes as well. But, I also put on key points about a game manager quarterback. So key points about a game manager quarterback, to get back onto that. You have a low turnover rate. Their primary goal is to not give the ball away through interceptions or fumble. Solid decision making. They prioritize making safe throws and taking check downs when necessary. May not have elite passing ability. While they can make accurate throws, they might not be known for big plays downfield, which I think is the opposite. I think, if anything, most of their passing is explosive plays downfield, relies on a strong defense and running game, often plays in systems where the running game and defense are key components to winning, which that's what it was. Negative connotation. Sometimes game managers use with a slightly negative connotation, implying a quarterback who lacks the talent to carry an offense on their own, which is not the case. He's doing what is being asked of him. So I also was looking at a show with Pat McAfee and Bill Belichick. And Pat McAfee asked Coach Belichick, he was like, hey, Coach, I know that you being that you was coaching all those years, you probably wasn't really hip to what was being talked about in terms of the media. And he was like, the term game manager has came about. And he was like, and that's normally looked at as a slight to a quarterback. So he explained to him what they say a game manager is. And he's like, what's your take on that? And Belichick said this. He was like, the idea is to win the game. If you have to rely on the defense to win the game, then you put the defense in good position and let them win it. QBs like Brady, Breeze, Peyton, Rodgers, Mahomes, that's Peyton Manning, by the way, for those who don't know. Rodgers, Mahomes, those guys are all great quarterbacks. Why? Because they won. They figured out what they had to do to win in that particular game that they were playing. Sometimes you got to go out and score 48 points, and sometimes you just have to not turn the ball over and put your defense in a best possible position to win the game. And that means that comes with taking sacks and losing field position, losing field goal opportunities. You just got to be a little bit smart with, in those situations, getting the ball out your hand, right? So I even kind of put up together what's the Eagles' game plan. When you look at what the Eagles do, the Eagles' game plan is to establish the run and make you respect that. So with their success running the ball, most teams are probably going to convert to stacking the boxes, which most of the time that's going to leave you with a single high safety, which that will be a cover 1, cover 3 for the most part, right? So when you stack that box, now guess what? You do have 2 elite receivers on the outside. So now you have 1 center field safety, and there's not been a lot of great center field safeties that's thrived over the years. It's a very few of them, like names like the likes of Earl Thomas, Ed Reed, and even when you look at what Kyle Hamilton is doing, but it's not a whole bunch of those. And you got elite receivers with 1 over-the-top safety. Oh, we're going to take shots like plays like this right here. And this was the basis of what they done. Even when you go back to the Super Bowl where they lost to the Chiefs, that's what they was doing. You know what I mean? Even when you look at this Super Bowl, the receivers was eating. That's what they was doing. They couldn't stop that. So that's pretty much the Philadelphia Eagles game plan. If you look at, and I'm going to drop the mic with this one, right? So if you look at what makes Patrick Mahomes so great, people might ask you, and they might say, hey, what makes Patrick Mahomes great? And this is what I would say what makes Patrick Mahomes great. The fact that when Patrick Mahomes first took over as a quarterback, we all knew the Chiefs for their explosive plays down the field, the lob passes to Tyreek Hill. He's scorching Tampa Bay for 200 yards in 1 quarter. Now teams started to get a lot more conservative to take away the deep ball, right? So once they started to take away the deep ball, Patrick Mahomes struggled initially because he was so he was so dependent on those explosive plays downfield. So whenever teams were starting to play these coverages, these off coverages to prevent it, he was throwing into the heart of what they were doing, which was causing him to make a lot of mistakes. So throughout that year, he was able to learn it's just as simple as taking what the defense gives us. So if the defense is taking away our deep ball, why would I keep trying to force that pass? Right? Why would I keep trying to force that? If not, if the defense is taking away that, okay, take away what we have. You might have check down routes. It might be 5 yards, might be 6 yards, 3 yards. To take your underneath intermediate passing to open it up. So it's all about taking what they give you. So if they giving you that, take that. Now, once they have to start to play a little differently to try to combat what you're doing and having success with doing, then it gives you options. And I think that's what I see with the Philadelphia Eagles. They're able to capitalize on what a defense is giving them, and either you're going to lose or you're going to have to make adjustments, and now they're going to attack you in other ways. And that's what makes them so good. So, that's the basis of what I say about Mahomes, being able to adapt and know, okay, I have a phenomenal defense, right? So I'm going to rely on my phenomenal defense. My job is to not turn the ball over. Once again, my job is to not make horrible positions and throw interceptions and put my defense already in the red area. My job is not to fumble the ball and put my defense in a horrible position and put them in having to defend the red area. My job is to not take a sack or throw an interception while we're in the red area and take away opportunity for us to at least put up 3 points and put some points up on the board. That's my job, right? So if that's my job for us to win that game, then that's just what I have to do. So, I think that we have to put more context to these things whenever we're talking about these guys, because I don't like the fact that we're still slighting Jalen Hurts after all the success. You look at his situation, man. Look at what happened to him in Alabama, transferring from Alabama, going to Oklahoma, doing what he had to do, and still being a second-round draft pick. And look at what he's been able to do to this point. And I want guys to understand this too. So I'm gonna leave it at this for sure. So when y'all say, okay, look at what he has around him. So let me ask you guys strongly, and I want to hear your strong opinion. If Jared Goff goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, do they win a Super Bowl? If Sam Darnold goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, do they win a Super Bowl? If Daniel Jones goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, do they win a Super Bowl? If Derek Carr goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, do they win a Super Bowl? If Bryce Young goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, do they win a Super Bowl? If Matthew Stafford goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, do they win a Super Bowl? And I can sit there and go down list to list to list to list to list. Like obviously we ain't going to say names like Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar yet, because we do believe that. But I'm talking about all these other guys, because the way you got, and Dak Prescott, if he goes, do they win one? The Baker Mayfield, if he goes, do they win one? Because the way you're making it seem is that, okay, Jalen Hurts is absolutely nothing. Everything is based off of the system. So he plays no part to it. We can take him off of that team, and I guarantee you still get the same results, which that's not the case. But I'm curious to hear you guys' explanation about that, because I've been so excited to make this video, and I want to hear some of you guys' biased opinions of why you think he's not a good quarterback, because you don't like him for whatever reason you don't like him. So, like I always tell y'all, man, if it's anything that you guys agree with, let me know in the comments. And if it's anything that you disagree with, most definitely let me know in the comments. I'm always up for discussion. I'm always up for debate, because maybe you guys maybe it's something I'm missing and you guys might be hitting me with it. So, with that being said, man, if you did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, click that post notification bell where you be notified every time I upload, man. I got videos coming back to back, day to day, and you don't want to miss that. Stay tuned, and I'll see y'all in the next video.